This is your Solana Daily Debrief. It's the 10th of June. So having a quick look here, prices are relatively stable, slightly down of course from $172 recently. Sol here 160, Bitcoin almost 70. So Mags mentioned how Bitcoin is still holding support, that there was a fake out till 56,500, but it quickly got reclaimed and we're back in the range. Also, if this feels like it's a little bit lengthy, then this is the biggest consolidation at present. So in 2017, BTC consolidated for 48 days before breakout, 2020, 21 days, and currently it's at 87 days. My belief is with each cycle, people get smarter and smarter. It's harder to move the markets as well because the market cap goes bigger and bigger. If you are a little bit scared, just remember, while you're scared, whales are buying Bitcoin. So what you're looking at here, this yellow line is the addresses. So the Bitcoin supply held by entities with a balance of 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin. So the number of wallets that have been accumulating in the recent times has just been rapidly increasing. Now, a little bit of hopium for you. So I've shown this many times, but if you start to get nervous, you're welcome to. You can like whatever projects that you like. You can invest in whatever token you like. But for me, the thesis is very simple. Solana will basically follow ETH. I think it'll go to like $1,000 or around that. Either way, I'm expecting this to come for sure. There's so many blockchains out there that are getting plenty of hype, but Sol has hype and it actually has people using the blockchain. So it's a bit of a winner. Now, one very important thing to actually keep in mind when we see things like this is that yes, the DEX volume on Solana is more than Ethereum, which is good. However, when you also include the other layer 2 solutions or the other kind of standalone EVM blockchains like Base and Arbitrum and whatnot, then it isn't. And sometimes Ethereum people want to include all of the EVMs into kind of one package. And if you're going to do that, then of course they're beating. And in reality, they are beating in many respects. But just remember, you can do this all on one blockchain a lot easier. As we go further into the cycle, what I think will happen is people start talking about Ethereum flipping Bitcoin. That's what they spoke about last cycle. And then there'll be people that will start to speak about Solana flipping Ethereum. I don't think that's going to happen this cycle, and maybe it happens in a future cycle, but I don't think it's even worth speculating because Ethereum does have, so many good things going for it. Just the actual network itself, the base blockchain, is just too slow and too expensive. So if we have a look at the Sol market cap divided by the ETH market cap, Curb thinks it's going to come right up here. And at present, Solana's at 17% of the market cap, and he's expecting it to peak around 50% this cycle. Now let's move into some actual token news. This is from Noon here. So 2 most anticipated Solana airdrops this year. Cloud will be releasing soon. We've gone over this in quite a bit of detail. I'm unsure if we have the exact details on Cloud, but they're trying to prevent everyone from just dumping the token. So only 50% of the allocation will be claimable from the start, and the other half during the next 7 days. They will launch with dupe and use Meteor Alpha Vault to prevent botting. So what this will mean, in my opinion, is the actual price of Cloud is not going to skyrocket. If it's not going to skyrocket because there's not enough FOMO, then people are going to think it's a failure. It's not a failure. It's definitely not a failure. I have another video coming out on this today, basically on patience and profit taking and conviction. So with this token, they're trying to make it fairer for everyone. So it'll be fairer for everyone. They'll get the money they need to develop, and then they'll go and develop. Then the token price should act as an actual representation of how much TVL they gather, how many good things they do in the ecosystem, how many people like their actual product. That is ultimately what should happen. And for those people that just want like a 5x immediately, day one, then yes, we're all in the same boat, but realistically, it just can't happen. The other token to consider is the MET token. The best way to get the MET token is by generating fees, putting in liquidity, getting that trading volume happening by actually deploying liquidity. Now, if Meteor is too difficult for you, you may want to use Camino vaults that have the Meteor badge. That way, you're gaining some MET points. If you want something that's far more low risk, you could go with something like Dupe Sol and INF. This is essentially no impermanent loss, or if there is impermanent loss, it's very, very minor. Kate also says there's great fees and exposure to APY. Now, there aren't really great fees because the fee on this pool is quite minimal, and we can actually just check that ourselves, but it's still worth doing for sure. The best way to actually go about this is to dedicate some time and to chase after things that are narrative driven. Like if you put Mother and Sol into a pool, play with that pool, then take it out, put it back in, whatever, and just generate fees, then you'll do really, really well. But of course, sometimes you will get tokens that do not do well, and then you don't do well. So sometimes you do well, sometimes you don't. If you want to go with Dupe Sol and INF, you're welcome to. You can see the amount of TVL in this pool is 1.7 million, and the 24-hour fee based on TVL is quite low. If we click on this here, we can see they've generated $115. So if we just kind of extrapolate that out, that's 41,000 divided by the TVL, you're looking at about 2% in fees a year. And that's at current prices. It'll probably go down, and that's fine. Whereas if you go for something that's higher risk, because of course you want to make some fees, but you also want to make some gains, then of course there are far more risks here. Now, of course, if you want to go with something that's higher risk, you need to make sure there is some sort of TVL. So there's no TVL here, no TVL here. These are all like meme coins. I have no idea what they are. So we're just going to skip most of these. And there has to be, in my opinion, at least a couple $1,000s worth of actual liquidity. Mother and Soul is still doing really, really well. Mother and Dupe, well, there's no TVL there. I definitely agree it's hard. It's not super easy. The amount of liquidity here is kind of minimal, and there's just so many random tokens. This is fairly difficult for sure. What we may do is search by TVL and just see if there's any decent kind of fees popping up here. There's nothing too crazy. I'm probably thinking maybe some Mother Soul, some Soul W, maybe some Bonk Soul. That could do potentially pretty well. So if we have a look at this one here, has a tiny fee, 0.05%, but this is making $648 in 24 hours. So if we extrapolate that out, of course there's impermanent loss, but you can see that based on the TVL, this is a very good liquidity pool. It's earning over 1% per day at present. On to the next news. So let's have a look at some airdrop news. Remember, probably the best way to do airdrop farming is one new dApp a day. Yes, it's going to take up a decent amount of time, but some of these things can be worth thousands of dollars. So Fabiano is quite keen on, by the looks of things, from RainFi. The total wallets for Sanctum, Zeta, D-Bridge, Parcel, massive, like 100,000. And here's RainFi at 11,000. There's also Symmetry. I don't necessarily think that Symmetry is going to do well. Apparently it has 100,000 wallets though, so it might be worth considering Symmetry here as well. Meteora has a whole lot of wallets, an insane number, but this will do well in my opinion. Now on to the next news. You can get the stake or Discord role easy and cheap way. You've got until the end of today, basically midnight UTC. Just one little bit of advice. Always pay attention to the time. As an example, this would mean midday, but it's actually midnight. Anyway, essentially, you need to get 40 plus score on this quest system. So now what you need to do is not just go and move across your funds and then you get the role and then you jump on Discord, verify some wallet and you're good to go. You need to do different things in order to actually generate this score. So you can go through this here. I've got a video on actually getting your W onto the other blockchain. There is an update though. They're basically having a few issues going on. So do all the things today, and if you can't get the role, it does say claims for the role will remain open for a few days after Monday. This is a website here. You go and connect your wallet, do the steps, Galaxy here as well, and your stake here with Tally. Final reminder, Radiant Style has 1 day left for the Bonkathon, so you need to go and sign up, submit your project that you've been working on. You have until midnight Pacific time for this. Now quickly, I'm going to talk about liquid staking tokens because I had some questions on these. So Jito Sol is a very popular, it is the most popular liquid staking token on Solana. And I think everyone knows how these work. Essentially, if you go and stake directly with a validator, like validator.com, then you're going to earn an APY. If you stake 100 Sol, you'll have approximately 107.8 Sol in a year's time. If you do not stake your Sol, then you lose out to inflation. So I definitely encourage everyone to stake their Sol. Sometimes, however, you may want to take your Sol and then turn it into a liquid staking token. That way you can deposit into Drift or Camino or somewhere and you can take a loan out on it. Or it adds other use cases. You can put it into Meteora and do liquidity farming. You can do so many different things with it. However, with the LSTs, they're still being staked with validators. Sanctum, of course, have LSTs. B-Sol's one, LST's another one. And of course, there's MSOL as well. Now, where people's confusion seems to come from is the fact that they look at Ethereum and they looked at Lido staked Ether. Now, this is staked Ethereum and it trades for a lower value than Ethereum. There are other liquid staking derivatives of Ethereum as well, but Ethereum as a blockchain works differently. Like if you want to stake the actual ETH, then it has to sit in a queue for a certain number of days. If you want to unstake the ETH, it needs to sit in a queue for a certain number of days. So it's far harder to make it essentially the correct price. I haven't done my research on Ethereum staking in like 2 years, so I can't remember everything. But basically, there are some blockchains which lock up the funds for a certain amount of time. As an example, in the Cosmos ecosystem, sometimes they will lock a token for 21 days. So if you go and stake, and then you decide you want to unstake, it will take you 21 days to get back your tokens. Now with Sol, if we go and stake it, we say validate.com, and then we want to get it back, we can unstake it, and the maximum amount of time it will generally take is 2.5 days. And sometimes, depending on when the epoch ends, it will take even less. So if we have a look at INF here, this is Sanctum, we can see the price is, it's just there on the right, $192. We can see with MSOL, it's $190.88. GeoSol, $178. So the reason why LSTs work well on Solana is because if for some reason there is a depeg, and I covered this in a video last year when a lot of MSOL depegged as someone went and sold millions of dollars worth, then to actually rebalance everything only takes a short amount of time. It's one epoch. So that's basically an overview of LSTs. I do use LSTs, but the majority of my SOL is just literally just staked with Validator.com. That is the safest approach, but LSTs offer you that flexibility to use DeFi, to do liquidity farming, and of course, to take a loan on the token. On to the next bit of news. Solana FM is introducing Explorer 2.0.0. There's a few changes here. One thing that I like, we'll click on Bonk here, so we can basically see a whole lot of information here really quickly, such as the volume in Bonk, the total number of trades, the buys, the sells, the number of markets, the top 10 holders, the daily active wallets, the price, and everything. Now, of course, we can go click on an actual transaction. This is when this gets far more complicated, and a lot of people will not know how to read this, and I get that. That's where, to be honest, SolScan is still far easier. But regardless, Solana FM is improving their product, and I love it. Next bit of news, Iggy and her mother token. She's still putting in a whole lot of work into this. She's talking about an ad campaign rolling out later this week, where you can basically use your mother or Sol to go and buy a phone that she co-founded. The service is called Unreal Mobile. She's using Sphere Labs to actually use the blockchain payment system. And I've never heard of this. However, my expectation is this is literally just going to be in the US. And it is, so that's why I haven't heard of it. But if you need a new phone or if you need a new carrier, then once Mother opens, you may want to go and use Mother. Finally, we've got some NFT news here. So this is from Justy Soul, so I appreciate this good blurb here. The best NFT alpha, Mutatoads and Solana Sensei. I've definitely heard about Solana Sensei. This is monos here. The mint date, unsure. Mint price, unsure. Supply, 3,333. And then Mutatoads, free mint, date, TBA, supply, 5,555, and they're a huge company with an NG drink. Now, I've actually never heard of this before, and I definitely don't have whitelist. Now, if I could get whitelist, I'd be down, because this looks really cool. Obviously, whatever their agenda here is, they're basically trying to push the NG drink, and I do like this approach. Like, if a traditional company wants to enter into the blockchain space, create some cool art, push some marketing, and do it in a Web3 way, then that definitely has product market fit. Far more than a Web3 company wanting to go into Web2, like essentially what has happened all the time. So I'm going to give them a follow and just see how they do, but their level of animation is insane. I mean, the cost of these animations would be sometimes, $50,000 or $200,000. Something like this, I don't know exactly what it would cost, but probably a couple of $100,000 at the very least. And then you jump on their website and everything just looks really well done. The actual art is okay. It's not amazing, but it's pretty cool. And the energy drink itself, I've never heard of. All I'm suggesting here is if you can get whitelist, get whitelist. It's a free mint, so it's just going to cost a little bit in gas, and maybe this project does well. Now, finally, your actionables. So check out Meteor's dupes pool. It's not generating a crazy amount of fees. However, you'll still get some fees. You may want to check it out. Do the W Galaxy airdrop quest, the deadline to stake, basically midnight UTC. Watch my video on Wormhole staking. Use dBridge Finance with a 100 stake dupe. In other words, a wallet that has a 100 stake dupe. That way you get a 1.1x multiplier, and DCA Sol on dupe and stake it with Validator.com. And finally, if you can, try and get Mutatoads whitelist. Probably not going to be possible now, but if you can, it may be worth it. As usual, nothing's financial advice. That's all for today. Catch you in the next video.